Welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Lead the Future, an unedited, honest conversation to change the conversation and actually create the future. I'm Arjan Visser, human centered futurist, and your host today. Join me as I chat with my friend Deb Brown Maher about authentic leadership transformation. Deb is a perspective illuminator, an identity coach, and an authenticity midwife. I love that language. Deb is an eliminator of authenticity, believing that everyone benefits when you are free to discover, activate, and live as your true self. Deb, welcome in our show, in our podcast.
Great to be back with you, Arjan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you have been with us. It's 4 weeks ago, maybe
Yes,
five, but I think it's about 4 weeks ago. Time flies when you're busy. When we did the Alt Summit, the Authentic Leadership Transformation Summit, and I was
yes,
really thrilled that you joined one of the panel discussions about what was that? It was the second one. It was the one about finding new language to create the future,
yes.
and let's reflect on what we learned since the summit, because I learned so much of hearing the conversations, the different perspectives of the panelists, and but it all comes down to, it starts with who I am becoming and finding the language to explain it to myself as I can explain it to others. But how do you look back to the summit?
Well, the thoughts that I have are limited by my knowledge, my experience, my perspective, by me. Okay, the confines of me. So when we get into dialogue with others who are pursuing becoming all they can be, all of a sudden I'm hearing perspectives outside of me. And that is always fascinating because what someone else says, they use language familiar to them that triggers things for me. So I just love that whole process of it's a intellectual thought triggering exercise that all of a sudden creates new connections that I was incapable of doing on my own. So that's the beauty of connecting in the alt forum and in the mastermind group.
Yeah, I love that confession. Like, let's go. Like, it's limited to to my knowledge, my understanding, my verbal processing. It's limited to me, what I
Yeah.
what I understand of what I have experienced.
Yes.
And that confession, I think, when we look to authentic leadership, that could be, if we would create a list, like what are the first things that I need to become real about. This one will be really high on, like, do you know that on your own you are the limiting factor on
Yeah.
who you are becoming? And by the way, really easy to solve this: interact intellectually, emotionally, mentally with
Yeah.
peers who trigger you with words because they share the same exploration of what's that journey of life and leadership.
And even just sharing this now, I'm getting a new clarity about the need for community.
Mm.
In myself, I can never become who I am fully capable of being. That can only happen in relationship to others. And it's a geometric expansion. It isn't one plus one. Well, one times one, you still get one, too. So I'm not a math wizard either. But when I when I'm challenged by other people's perspectives and they ask me questions to make me look at conclusions that I have drawn from a different perspective, it takes me to a place that I'm incapable of going alone.
That's another gemstone, redefining that community is not just social emotional needed, or with more we can do greater works. No, it's the needed nurture for my cognitive development, my intellectual understanding of my own journey, my own experiences.
And then I get to do that for you and each of the others. So that's where that geometric explosion takes place,
Mm,
because it becomes a very rich, fertile environment of giving and receiving. And I say receiving specifically, not taking,
yeah.
because each one of us is offering our self as a gift, our perspective, excuse me, our opinions, our questions, we're offering those as gifts to be considered, not judgments to limit
Yeah.
and contain. So that active giving, receiving, giving more, receiving in the giving. It goes a multitude of directions all at the same time. And I just love being in that kind of environment because it's uplifting, it's constructive, it's creative.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going away from the balance mode. No, what I give, I should also take, so that I keep it balanced. and and we all know that the balance sets us up for mediocrity, because we don't spend enough energy focus on both ends for the sake of the other end. But it is that dynamic, you say, that you receive in the giving. Maybe that is
Yeah.
you are the greatest gift for someone.
Yeah.
And being surrounded by peers, we can practice that, to find the language, to, like I said on the introduction, to believe it ourselves. If we
Yes.
don't know how great our gift is, then we cannot bring it
We
to
won't.
the person who's most blessed by it.
Yeah. Yeah. we we have to know what it is that we carry, and it's never from an egotistical perspective.
Hmm.
It's factual. It's a fact that each of us carries something that others need.
Yeah.
And it also involves having an abundance mentality, that by giving, by sharing all of me, all of my authentic self, I will never lose. I will never be diminished. In fact, the more I give, the more there is.
It's so opposite. Like I had earlier today, I had a conversation with my wife Sasha, and we talked about how how frequently you hear, find out what you did good, what you were successful in, and then they put it in the diagrams opposite of burnout.
Hmm.
And if you don't know who you are and you became good at something, then that is probably your super tool to get to burnout.
Yeah.
You need to know if it's what you are created to do, not that you became good at it and successful through practice. Because
Yeah.
the external confirmation, the external definition of what success does, our dopamine addiction that we
Mhm.
get served, the moment that we are worshipped for the great results we did. It is that egotistic side of us that goes for the predictable, and instead of keeping us safe, what it's all about, it just exhausts us. We drain.
Because it's never enough.
It is never enough. And the opposite, if what's really hard to go through is probably your development space, because you carry something that when it's developed into competency, it is the great gift you bring. But
Yeah.
because it's hard work, they make you choose for the things that you're good at. So you get exhausted, not happy, although the hard work is not comfortable, not easy at all. But it's the other side of that development that
Yeah.
you find fulfillment.
Yes.
Do you have more gemstones?
So I also realize that um, people who are attracted to something like the alt forum
Hmm.
and the mastermind are people who are not satisfied with who they are now. They've had a taste of who they can be, who they can become, a direction, a passion that they want to pursue, yet they recognize, we include myself, I recognize there are things that I have to develop, I have to learn before the full manifestation of my potential can happen. So there's an awareness, there's a dissatisfaction with the status quo. We are not people who hang out at the status quo. In fact, we probably walk away from it pretty quickly because, in one word, I find it boring.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, or annoying.
That too. Yeah, because I've been there. In a term, I'm not sure it's the right term. I've mastered that. I understand it. I've eaten from that table. I've gotten everything I can from that. And I'm pushing back from that table and saying, okay, what's next?
Hmm.
What's the more? Now that this is clear to me, where is the next place I need to go? Where do I need to take this, share it with people who maybe don't have that yet, while on my path to the next place that I'm supposed to
Yeah, yeah. Well,
go?
in the old forum, it was mentioned a couple of weeks ago that the true definition of the word leadership or leading means that you create a path where no one has gone before. So you prepare the path, which
Yes,
I love, because that connects to that metaphor that we use many times here, building bridges for others to cross over. So the visionary part is not describing the leader, it's part. You know, leaders are visionary leaders. Also, leaders are pioneers,
yes,
and that is so important. For me to keep saying, and the same is like from your profession or from the sales and marketing side. The true deep source root word of sales means that you serve others
Yeah.
to receive the benefits that you can bring.
Right.
And I just realize, and well, I know this for a while now. I don't have one inner circle. Uh, that that's a nasty sales pitch when people say, we're your family. Come with us.
Yeah.
This is all you need. That's a lie. So the three inner circles that I see is my inner circle around home. It's where I develop my ownership.
Hmm.
It's the circle around my leadership, which I would love to call that's my learning space. And that's where I need the alt form peer mastermind, because I can only lead when I learn, and I
Yeah.
cannot learn in my ownership, my leadership, and I cannot do it in my entrepreneurship. Serving others to receive the benefits that I can bring. You know, in those I lead in the areas, but the learning of how to lead, to explore the unknown, I need three spaces. I need a space where I can serve others. I need a space to learn, to develop my leadership, and I need a space called home.
Hmm.
And I need all three,
Yes.
and not in a balance, but it's like my ecosystem of my internal, or living from the inside out, leading from the inside out. It is where the intellectual part, the cognitive part, the expression, the emotional part, the spiritual part is all developing, aligning. It's the transformation space, it's the
Yeah.
metamorphosis.
It, it's the space where we develop, learn, grow, expand, become, because we can't give what we don't have.
Yeah, yeah,
Can't.
absolutely. So we already mentioned authentic leadership doesn't work when leaders don't have a community for their development. We underline that that's their learning space,
Mm-hmm.
and we need the development if we want to be leaders, because we are pioneering new paths that probably exposes parts of us that need some work,
Yeah.
and the whole language development, because if we want to to take what we imagine or what we dream, if we can express that to words, that will influence our behavior, other people's behavior. We speak it into existence, our behavior aligns. So we need the language too. And it's not a silver bullet, because it's a hard, hard sounds so bad in a context of let's make people excited. But it's hard work. But everything that you keeps you in flow, what makes you lose try, the effort, the time, the energy is all part of
It's
fulfillment.
the it's the friction that brings the energy.
Yeah, it's not the cold place. That's true. There's a
Yeah.
lot of friction, internal friction.
So I want to add something about language and the importance of exploring language at the very foundational level. The commonly defined words that are used in the to describe leaders, leadership, leading. If you look closely at the language, it has an undertone of management,
Yeah,
manipulating, setting the course and making sure everybody takes that course. So the the language that's commonly used will always support the old paradigm. It can't help but support the old paradigm. And if you come along with a new paradigm, a new perspective, a new path, and you use the old language, you're dead before you start.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's difficult to find that language because we're so accustomed to the current definitions. And it's not like we're inventing words, it's the process of really looking at how is this different and what language then is going to accurately evoke a new thought process versus triggering common language.
Yeah.
I've been aware of this challenge of word definition my whole career because in sales, it's very easy to assume once you hear something from a prospect, to assume that you know what they mean and you know what they want. So, foundational teaching in my courses was always you don't know, KNOW, you don't know anything until you hear it from the prospect in their words. And even then, you have to question and go deeper on what they have said because the problem the prospect brings you is never the whole problem. So that word definition problem is one that is wrapped together in assumption making. And I actually do a quick exercise with people, a word association exercise, where I say a word and they have 5 seconds to write down the first three things that come to mind. And what we find when we do that in a group is there will be a little bit of overlap and a lot of difference in what people associate with that trigger word.
Yeah.
That just tells you that depending on our experience, our frame of reference, proximity, what just happened to me over breakfast or in the car on the way to work, all of those circumstances and experiences feed into the definition that we place on a word or a phrase.
Yeah. I
So
think this
language is tricky.
exactly. So we talk about finding out who we are becoming. We need to find new language.
Yes.
It's we hate the word we must and should, but it's not optional. Without new language, nothing new is created. You establish the old, and then the receiver has a word association, and
With
not
that.
yet your and not your extended paradigm.
No.
So in the whole word association, your new language crashes, misses, and once in a while triggers correctly. And that trigger
Right.
correctly is so needed. And it is hard. Like it is talking from a 5 by 5 Rubik's cube to someone who have just a 3 by 3 um,
Yeah.
perspective of that subject.
Yes.
So the water hose, the information overflow
Hmm.
is not helping.
No.
So you need to know who you are becoming by the language first and then find the words to communicate your language. It's a very thin line.
Mm-hmm. And it takes trial and error because it's new territory, it's new ground. It hasn't happened yet. You're in the process of becoming, and therefore it's it is not a once and done. It's not a sit down 15 minutes and you've got it.
Mm,
It's an ongoing step by step testing, trialing, finding stories that analogize, that help to carry the new meaning. It's really quite involved. And one of the things that I'm really enjoying about the alt forum is the dialogue, the back and forth, the very quick way that I can start getting feedback that's helping me fashion that new expression, to
mm,
shape the
yeah,
words to accurately describe the new expression.
yeah, yeah. The alt form. Well, we talked up front. There's a there's a really clear distinction between peer mastermind concept that you and I are part of and the new alt forum. But how do you express that in words? Like you just said, that are not between, that are not missed or associated with the existing.
Yeah.
So let's try it again, you know.
Okay.
Let's do it
Okay.
just live, you know, and we can correct it next podcast if we missed it. So what is the alt forum about? How would you describe it?
It is about exploring concepts, exploring um, preconceived notions, um, looking at them from different angles, as I have a cat looking at me from a different angle. Uh,
Yeah,
it, it's, go ahead.
it's the talking about the concepts, the ideas, the dreams you have. So
It's,
if
yeah, it's verbalizing. It's maybe saying it out loud
yeah,
for the first time with an audience who is similarly exploring, where there is no judgment, there's only exploring.
yeah, it's exploring what you think you know about what you foresee in the future, and by sharing it with others and hearing other people their 2 cents, you you figure out that actually, well, like in the panel discussions, you get these triggers and think, no, actually, I think
Yeah,
something different. Your point of view tilts,
yeah,
shifts to, and it's all about the talking. It's all about feeding the desire for what you have ideas, concepts, dreams, foresight about,
yeah,
and be surrounded by other leaders, forward thinkings, game changers, world changers that are not offended by it and love to share their side and perspective on it, because
right. Yeah,
your own people are not in the room, so no one is confused or offended
right.
after the meeting. And then what makes the peer mastermind the deeper journey?
That is the place where we do the hard work to identify what we need to learn and how to anticipate the results we will get when we're on the other side of that learning curve, and be able to find language to describe that place and the results, the the good the goodness, the fruit of living that way. And it's, for me, just true confessions. I've said it many times. It is extremely difficult for me to imagine the future and live as if it had already happened. And the importance, what I've learned of the importance of doing that is that if I do not step up and become who I'm supposed to be, there will be a gap that won't be filled, because I'm uniquely me, you're uniquely you. And I'll instead be following someone else's becoming path instead of setting my own path and helping others to experience that
Yeah.
result. And if what my walking that path and you walking your path are equally as important, and if any one of those paths of, us and how many billions of other people are not enacted, then there's a gap. So I want to help you become all you're able to be. And in the process, it helps me become. And it's about shaping the future because we're on that path. Otherwise, life happens to us, not for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So the alt form is the starting point. It's the talking about, and by talking about it, nurturing or getting richer perspectives on the deeper desire. So it's, in a way, I would say it's defining your learning arch. Just how you go with an arch to where you want to go, from the status quo you're bored with to the future quo you have ideas and concepts about.
Yes.
While the
Yeah.
mastermind is walking through the learning curve. So it's
Yes.
talking about the learning arch, and it's walking through the learning curve, which is the deep personal transformation that you need
Mhm.
as a leader to be authentic and lead from the inside out. It's where you need to be surrounded by peers that treat you well, with sometimes brutal, honest feedback to keep you in your right space, keep you on track, to keep going after what you deep from the inside, your heart desires, your heart cry. And I think, going back to the first point in our podcast, when you mentioned that community, the community is in both. But visionary leaders, we can just make that shorter. Leaders, they need they need to nurture their heart cry, their heart desires,
Yes.
because that the lack of nurture gives that unhealthy friction, tension, that dissatisfaction that you
Yes.
cannot compensate. If you don't address it, you get in an unhealthy spot. That's one reason. The other reason, if you address it, you are a greater gift for someone out there who wants to receive it. It's
Right.
wants to receive your gift as their breakthrough.
Mhm.
So aka leader definition, to pioneer the path that comes from the inside out, the deep desires and the heart cry, is not the hobby on the side. It's your lifeline to well-being, fullness, happiness. And the result is, the more people do that,
Mhm.
give and receive, like you mentioned, we get a society where the individual flourishes in the benefit for someone else.
Yes. Hmm.
So I think that summarizes our whole talk. What did I miss?
I had another thought and it left. So
Oops.
I guess we didn't miss anything.
Well, then I just want to wrap up for any listener out there. First of all, I want to confirm you are a leader. Your first follower is yourself. You know, it is about self leadership to lead others. There must be some key point takeaway in our conversation or trigger. You know, just that challenge of perspectives. I just invite you to not ignore that. Do yourself a benefit, do yourself a favor so you can be favorable for others and have more impact and more influence. And find language for your heart cry, your heart desires as a leader. Just connect. Use the link that is in the comments, businessrevivalist.com/connect for a short call, or go all in and just visit the alt forum. The link is below in the screen scrolling. If it's not yet on your nerves, it says alt.businessrevivalist.com/forum, and just try it. Join the alt forum, or if you want full transformation, join the Beer Masterminds and set time apart for you. You know, we can talk a long time about commitment, but at the end, it's ownership, and it has the same three attributes. It asks your time, your energy, your focus, and your resources, your money. So invest it well, but don't ignore the triggers. No. One thing we've learned in our leadership journey, the triggers are really valuable and easy to be missed. They could just slip away. So please connect, use the links, use the opportunity, and I would love to see you in the alt forum and hear your perspectives on authentic leadership transformation. Deb, thank you very much
Thank you, Arjan.
for another jam-packed podcast.
I can't wait to see the transcript
will, I will send it. Yes. Yeah,
because we always end up creating new language as we speak. So,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So take care, and well, I will see you this week in the forum. So
yes,
take care. Bye bye.
thanks.